Have you ever noticed that the song comes out hot? It's like, and then it's like,
and then it slows down. It goes sludgy.
Kind of how we go. We start off really well, and then we just sort of die by the end of the show.
Welcome to ComicCast issue number 196, brought to you by Dwayne's World Comics and Games, 457 East Sullivan Street in Kingsport, Tennessee. They carry comic books, graphic novels, statues, toys, and gaming merchandise, including miniature games, board games, and RPGs. Adam is bored, but I'm excited. Check them out. Dwayne's World Comics and Games, Kingsport, Tennessee. My name is Boogie Bentley.
Nerd.
I'm Adam White Adams.
I'm Jason.
This is Gaumer.
Hey, Gaumer, go ahead and take the plugs over. I got to plug my laptop in. We're starting firing on all cylinders.
What are the plugs?
Yeah,
I don't know the plugs, dude.
We got spin mids. We got.
No, I think there's a certain one for right now.
For right now, is it?
Is it outright? He already did. Did he do Dwayne's World?
Brought to you by Dwayne's World Comics and Games,
457
East Street, Kingsport.
You already said that though.
Kingsport, Tennessee. Look up Dwayne's World Comics and Games in Kingsport, Tennessee. They got
and Geekery.com
comics. They got tabletop gaming. All the tabletop gaming.
Not a single plug was done, right?
What was the plug? I thought you did all the plugs for the intro at that point.
You can catch the VIP Patreon exclusive at patreon.com.
That's a sneaky one.
It wasn't in the front of my mind because I missed it.
Yeah, it was exciting because Gaumer wasn't there for the second week in a row. If you miss 3, you get fired. I don't know what's going to happen.
Come on, man.
Don't go there.
It's not my fault. We're
going to be hanging out with
pressure on me. I'll be sitting here at like 4 o'clock going,
no way. You don't care that
bitch.
much. We'll be hanging out with Skylar Patridge here in just a little bit. She's getting hooked up, connected, and then we'll get going. But what's up, guys? We're another week closer to new comic book day. Let me say, I meant to say this in my plug before my computer almost died. Dwayne's is reopening this week, so you can swing by there. They are doing they're not demanding, but they are requesting and asking you to wear a mask.
Oh yeah.
They're doing curbside delivery. They're doing limited people in the shop at one time, but they are reopened this week, and you can go by and hang out.
The comic book shops here in Pittsburgh, yeah, for sure. The comic book shops here in Pittsburgh are demanding that you wear a mask. Like it's mandatory. Like you wear a mask here in Pittsburgh for all the comic book shops. They will not serve you. And they have some just in case you don't have one. So
it's like the community mask.
Right.
We have one that everybody borrows. The loner. They call that the loner. You can use the loner.
Adam, what are you trying to say? They won't let you talk, buddy.
Sorry.
But I want to hear what
that joke.
It's gone now. Keep going.
I want to know what you have to say.
My shop's doing the same thing, basically. I'm doing curbside pickup.
I don't know how I feel about that, like demanding people to wear masks. What if you don't have one or can't find one? You just
I'm saying the store supplies one. Like here, like you have
to do curbside pickup.
I got no problem.
It's mandatory.
With that.
Like
I got no problem.
They got alternatives. Hey, you.
Why would you not like request mandatory masks? You know what I mean? Like
if you call your doctor, ask your doctor what you should do. If your doctor says, yeah, it's probably a good idea to wear your mask, then you can come back and say that we were right. But until you get like a professional opinion, I'm just not sure that it's a valid argument to have because it's not my opinion. It's not my opinion. I don't want to go
most
look
doctors
like a
will
Cobra
say
Trooper.
that you should probably wear a mask. 9 out of 10 doctors are going to say you should probably wear one.
Yeah, and that's my thing. You know what I mean? Don't do it because we're saying it. Do it because, you know what? Do it because the retail establishment you're going into has asked you to do it.
Yeah, and honestly,
no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Like,
if you go to a fancy restaurant and they don't wear a tie and they kick you out, are you going to get on there on Twitter and be like, "Oh my God, can't believe they need me to wear a tie"? No, that's what's to be expected. These are just new expectations. I don't think it's a lot, dude. You know,
I agree.
I don't think it's a lot.
It's very
to get all into this. I just wanted to say Dwayne's World is open this week, and I can finally get those long boxes and clean up all of this mess.
I don't know if I'm going to go to my LCS anytime soon, honestly. Like, I'm probably going to wait it out. I'm going to keep buying stuff on eBay for a good bit. I did pick up this Detective Comics 1000 Alex Ross. That came in the mail recently. I was pretty stoked to get that. Got a good deal.
Nice.
And then also I got this Rick Veitch, Brat Pack, Live Fast, Love Hard. It's one of those things that hang. Yeah.
Whoa.
But then
Wow.
Die with your mask on. Dude, look at this font, dude. This font is insane. I love it.
So which side are you going to show off while you hang
out?
out?
You know this side, dude. Yeah, Rick Veitch, man, did some awesome Swamp Thing work, and which he released those missing Swamp Thing 88 pages that he did the art for, and
Very
apparently
odd they wouldn't let him do that.
Yeah, well, what happened was behind the scenes. Remember when Second Coming? You can take out the zoom in thing.
Oh,
no, dude, keep him on there. Keep him on there.
Yeah. Oh,
my computer is lagging and dying. We're stuck on Jason now.
So Rick Veitch on Swamp Thing 88, like they were going to come out with Swamp Thing 88, finally the ending that everyone wanted to see. But apparently during the same time period, Second Coming was happening on DC Vertigo or whatever. And that whole entire beef happened where all the Christians were like, oh, yeah, Jesus is in a comic. We don't want that.
Don't say all.
Oh, not all, but enough to get G worried to tighten their butthole and bail out. And so they agreed that they didn't want to have Jesus in any DC comics. And so that ending of Swamp Thing involves Jesus. So like there goes that plan. So, but you can see this missing pages on
lots of circles, man.
Cartoonist Kayfabe has them all organized in
lots
HD.
of circles.
Yeah, so
lots.
Yo Carter says, "Dang, Jason, I did a video on Brat Pack.
I just ordered the hardcover edition of Brat Pack. So I'm excited to get that in the mail. I've been reading
I like some of Veitch's deconstruction. He did I don't even remember. It was recently on IDW re-released. It was quite good. Spot or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
To you guys, go sub up his channel. He's my brother from the Wrestling Council, also a comic shop owner who is not allowed to work right now in California. You guys can help him out. Go sub up his channel. It'll take you 2 seconds to do that, and I'm sure he would appreciate it. He does all kinds of comic reviews and good stuff from Fantastic Comics as well.
Yeah, I like that Fantastic Comics show.
Awesome.
It's a good one.
Dude, did you see this week's? There was a video this week, and it was talking about redneck Southern boys. And there's this snake in the water swimming towards the shore. Dude grabs it by the tail, swings it over his head, and throws it to two people tubing. And this snake just lands. Best intro. I need to do something better than this music in slow motion. I'll get on that.
Poor snake. It probably drowned. God.
Guys showing up in the live chat saying, where is Skylar? She is on her way. She's getting booted up and ready to go. She was on an iPad because I'm a terrible host and didn't tell her that she needed Chrome. Make sure you smash the like button, share out the link. She will be here shortly, and we'll get into it. What up? Anything else? Any other news?
I bought Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, which is people always say it's a necessary staple on understanding the format of comic books. So far, I'm not very impressed. It's almost like that annoying kid is like, oh, yeah, but what is comics? You know, what are comics? The hieroglyphics comics? You just want to punch the guy in the face, you know? So that's the type of book that this is so far for me, in my opinion. But it does give some surface level information, too, on different art and artists, that you should check out. But a lot of them are stuff I've discovered in like my early 20s by being a curious person and going to Wikipedia and going through
different
artists.
Cliff Notes, man. It
is Cliff Notes, but it's the fun thing about it. It is the funnest thing about it is it's in comic book format. I'm going to be able to tell. The funnest thing about it is it's in comic book format, so it kind of reads like a comic. So
you guys got to stop talking because the special guest is here. We're now joined by the artist on Relics of Youth. Reversal and Volume, Miss Skylar Patridge. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Am I lagging?
Oh, man. You are lagging, Boogie. You are.
Adam's got sound effects.
Welcome.
What's my problem?
To our humble little home.
I appreciate the invite.
Boogie's having technical difficulties, evidently.
Sorry, I do.
Probably because I got 73 tabs.
Yeah, I usually use Safari.
Am I lagging that bad? If so, I'll drop. You guys keep going. Am I that bad?
No, you're good now.
Yeah, go for it.
It's Jason. Okay. What is happening? What is happening? There's only one way to recover from what just happened.
You broke the show.
I gotta reboot. You guys hang out. I'll be right back. Run the show. Gomer, you're in charge.
Okay, well, we can just go ahead while he's doing that. I guess start off with the question we start off with everyone is, Skylar, what is, and we don't have the image, Boogie would put that up.
Oh, he's got it.
He's paying attention in the
Oh, there it is. What is your favorite Rocky movie?
Oh God.
There are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers.
I have to admit I'm not a Rocky aficionado, but
Oh no.
I mean the original is the classic, right? That's the only one I've seen.
Yeah, that seems to be the number one answer. So far,
while there are
that.
no wrong answers, that is the correct answer.
Right,
exactly
I like that. Cool.
Yeah, good job. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Let's see what else. So, one thing I was wondering, I mean, looking at all the work that you've done with your various books, is do you only do art, or do you also write?
At this point, I'm just an artist. I mean, just is not the right word, but that's the primary role that I'm taking in comics right now. I do have some writing background, not specifically in comics, but whenever I get the chance to kind of collaborate with the writer to do any sort of pacing, plot development, stuff like that, I'm always game for that kind of stuff. But at this point, I'm strictly doing the art mostly.
And well, I saw on let me get up. I am ill prepared. I needed that. I meant to have it up before I even brought it up, but I believe on Relics of Youth, you worked with David Boer on that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Which we had him on the show, but I mean, how did you? Did they reach out to you to do the art?
Yes. Yeah. It was a book that had been in process prior to me coming on board. And an artist had to drop out at partway through development. And so I was able to come in and reach out to me. I was able to come in and take over art duties on that. And then David was doing some of the editing on that book as well. So that's kind of how we linked up.
Okay. Excellent. The when I was reading Relics, I kind of got a like a Captain Planet kind of vibe.
It's like a team it's like Power Rangers or something. It's just a way for different, kids to get together to, form a group and find a bigger purpose.
Thing that they're capable of doing. Yeah, there's definitely. I would say Captain Planet's great. Thank you.
Yeah. It was really nice to look at. I mean, it was fun to read too, but it was. I made it better that it was easy on the eyes.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It's so crazy. I love it.
It was fun for you,
but it's like they use them in just the most perfect ways, at least so far.
Right.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
The character design for like that one, the main character that got them all together with the different color hair, the red bangs and the black hair.
Yeah.
I guess was she based on
AKA Ripley?
I was thinking the one actress from Umbrella Academy. For me, she looked very similar. I was like, oh snap! Was that based on
it wasn't actually an inspiration there, but I appreciate that.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. But I like that Ripley reference too. That was fun. I like that pop culture cancer guy. I hope he finds the youth. I want him to get better.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of ups and downs going forward after issue 1. Issue 1's definitely sort of the gathering of the team energy and kind of getting a sense for who these characters are. And you've got your jocks and your preppy kids and your loners and stuff like that. So I think it kind of touches all of those things that.
How many issues that are out of Relics are out? Just the one?
There's 4. Yeah. It's
okay.
I read 3 of them. I'm excited. It really picks up after issue 1.
Oh,
I guess once the pirates come and the yacht blows up,
there's like they're running really fast after issue 1.
Oh, it's great.
Well, it brings in that other team too, and then it's like, oh, here it goes ramping up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a cool element in the story where there's really 3 opposing forces that are all happening at once. You've got the kids, you've got the mystery of the island, and then you've got this mysterious group that's sort of coming in from the side. And so there's a lot of tension in that, which is creates a lot of drama.
It's funny because I feel like the pirates are, led by the woman, but then I feel like the guy that she has in charge of the troops, I feel like he wants to backstab her, but he's biding his time.
Yeah.
And then the kids also found the evil force on the island as well. So that's like another wild card, which is the sister of the positive force on the island. So I don't know, there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm like, I'm definitely in. I'm going to continue reading it. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool project to be a part of. Vault's awesome. The writers, Chad Redman and Matt Nicholas, excuse me, were great. They gave me a lot of artistic freedom to design those characters and
that's awesome.
Create that world. So it was a lot.
That's all you can ask for is like artistic freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about your journey? Like,
I'm sorry, my dog is growling at something right now, so I'm sorry if he barks.
Oh no, my pugs are snoring. Yeah, my pugs snore constantly, so I'm always on mute to block out that. But how about your journey? Like, how'd you end up finding yourself to comics?
Comics was something I was always interested in as a little kid. That was always sort of the way, or always sort of the direction that my art went. I grew up reading a lot of comics and just cartoons, and was always great.
What was the comic?
The comic that got me started. I've spoken with a couple other people that I've kind of always had. There's always been something that's come along that's pulled me back into comics. So I think the first thing that I tied to my connection to comics was actually the X-Men animated series. So it was actually a cartoon that got me interested in comics. And then that led to looking for all of the X-Men comics I could find.
Nice. That rules.
So yeah, X-Men was definitely my first step in. But I think the actual first comic I bought was a Superman comic because my brother was buying them. So I had to buy them too.
Awesome.
But yeah, so X-Men's the big one for me. And then sort of as I got to be a little older, you kind of ebb and flow in and out of comics as far as reading them, drawing them. And so I've kind of been pulled in and out of comics throughout my life. And within the last 6 to 7 years I haven't fallen out of it for a long time. I'm kind of in now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you reading anything currently?
Yeah. What are you reading now?
That's one of the downfalls.
Well, we know no one
comics.
is reading anything. Right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's one of the downfalls of comics, though. I think of making comics is like you're
so busy making it.
Yeah, you don't get to read them as much. So I haven't been reading anything lately. I think the most recent thing that I had picked up was I got the complete collection of Black Widow, the Wade Somney run for that. So I've read that 2 or 3 times. It's a huge source of inspiration for me.
Kelly Thompson one soon, 2 weeks. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. Yes, I'm always a sucker for Black Widow. She'll always pull me in. So
minimize Ryan, you cannot hold me down. I am back and I have reclaimed the throne. So I don't want
look at me. I'm the captain now.
We did okay, Boogie. I think you'll be okay.
No, I'm a little disappointed. I'm listening on my phone and Adam's just takes. How come every time I have trouble, Adam just tries to take over? He's like,
I thought he did okay. I thought Adam did just fine.
I'm proud
of him. Did fine.
Proud of him. There is a star screen to every Megatron, so let that dwell on you.
Nice.
They're all mad. The live chat's going nuts. They're mad. I'm back. I can leave if you want.
No, that's fine. You're okay.
Boston Comics is hanging out in the chat. I think I'm good. It's whatever. We're here.
We shall find out.
I was listening on my phone. I heard you talking, a little bit how you got into comics, but I know you're also looking at your artwork. You're big into Star Wars. How does that kind of mix in and shape your artwork?
I think that there's a lot of parallel interests or intersecting interests within comics. So I grew up with an older brother, and he was considerably older than me. So he was into a lot of things that I wasn't quite old enough to either understand or appreciate. But that didn't stop me from wanting to watch all the Star Wars and wanting to watch Alien and Aliens. And so I grew up with all of that sci-fi and Star Wars itself. So those have just kind of always been present in my foundation for that kind of stuff. And so sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say my brother's 10 years older than me, so I totally understand that kind of generational difference.
Yeah, he's definitely more of an 80s kid than I was.
Yeah, totally.
And so Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Wars, all of that was huge in our house. So nice. I kind of grew up being a little too young to fully appreciate it, but it always being present. So it's always kind of felt nostalgic and a part of my childhood for sure.
Totally. At least you've always known about it and followed along, at least somewhat. Even if it was subconsciously, it was always around you. That's
definitely. Yeah, and so I think I can't say that I'm a a huge Star Wars fan.
Right.
But I still love the movies. I still have read some of the comics. Like it's still one of those things that I always kind of come back to, even if it's not in the forefront.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like, Star Wars, it's like it's so broad now, and there were so many relevant novels back in the day, and now whenever I hear like true Star Wars fans like, oh yeah, this on this planet with this person and this, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And I've seen like all the movies.
I want to be that cool, but I'm not.
Yeah, right?
I'm not educated on any of it. So.
But that's the sign of a good fandom. You can love it from any level, as shallow as you want or as deep as you want to go, and it just goes on forever if you want. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Reversal because it's the best 6 pages I've read in like 6
awesome.
months.
I'm so glad you liked it.
I want you to 2 questions really. I mean, just get into it because it's kind of a unique thing you guys are doing with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the coolest thing you get to draw? I know there's only 270 pages left, but the potential here is they mentioned like, oh yeah, there was a kid with horns. You're like, nah, there's no kid with horns. And I'm like, there's a kid with horns. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's a lot of, especially in the early part of that story, there's a lot of just like things that are kind of mentioned and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so, best 6 pages, honestly, in like 6 months. I'm so happy
glad to hear that. Yeah, it's been a joy and such a privilege to work with Alex DeCampi and Kelly Fitzpatrick on this. It's a sort of all ages reader graphic novel, like you said, and it starts basically a year after the ley lines have reversed on the planet. And so the idea is that every 2,000 years or so, the ley lines reverse and magic comes back into the world and magic leaves the world. And so we come in a year after they've switched back. And so magic has started seeping into our world, into a world that we recognize. So, you've got the modern world dealing with dragons and knights. And, there are these elements of folklore that are suddenly within, an urban setting. And people trying to adjust to it. And it's been such an interesting story because it tackles so many elements. Basically the societal idea of like your world keeps continuing even in chaos. The idea of like occupied cities and how you still have to continue living in the shadow of chaos. And so you're dealing with a lot of like people and family drama in relation to their world just being nuts around them. And there'll be times when nothing happens and you kind of have this semblance of normal life. And then there'll be an attack or there'll be something that happens and magic returns and it's chaos again. So it's definitely this up and down story, mixing magic and the modern world, something that we recognize.
Can you talk about the release schedule on that? I know it's through Patreon. Like what's the thought process there, and how could I've got links for your website and all that good stuff down in the description, but tell people how they can find that and what's the thought process behind that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We started out we didn't have a home for it when we started out, but we knew we wanted to make it. So we started out working sort of piecemeal on it. And at this point, you can catch 2 pages a week on Alex's Patreon, Alex DeCampi. So it's just patreon.com/Alex DeCampi. And one of the tiers, you get all access to any of the design elements that are going into it. Sometimes Alex will do little script snippets. And then you get a page on Wednesday and a page on Saturday, and you can follow along as we're going. Nice. So right now, I think we're up through chapter 2. So you've actually got a ton that you can catch up on now if you want to jump in, and you can kind of read through chapter 2. And there are 6 chapters in the whole thing. So we've got a long way to go too.
It was
awesome.
Great.
I've got that link down in the live chat there. You guys can click on it and go check that out. Like she said, the first few pages are there for you to look at. Something I wanted to talk about. I want to share my screen here real quick. Let me find it. Man, I'm running in slow motion. I wanted to show off some of your artwork that's like not in the comic book form, because you do commissions and on your website, which again, guys, the link is in the description. I just wanted to show off some of your artwork, but talk about commissions. How can people get in touch with you for some of this artwork?
There's actually a contact page on my website, so you can actually reach out to me through there. Twitter's also another good option. You can reach out through DMs. I usually try to stay on top of those for the most part. But yeah, email is the best way, and that will be through the contact form on my website.
I like how you had price points already. I was like, wow, this is super fair.
Thanks.
Super fair. Yeah.
Well, and it can be, it's hard as the comic fan. I love this Spider-Man. Yeah. But as a comic fan, like you don't know, and you don't want to DM somebody or email somebody and be like, all right, this is what I'm expecting. And then they send back a different price. And then you're like, oh, sorry, that's a little too high, but you've got it all there on your website, which makes it super easy.
Definitely. And, sometimes people have different things that they want, like that maybe don't fall into those categories. I'm always happy to work with people on that stuff too.
Love all those plague
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Oh my gosh.
I know, these are so awesome.
Boy, so rad, dude. What? And that tanker was cool too with that whole bullet.
Thank you.
That was all cool. Yeah.
Damn it.
It's all really good. Do you have any secret projects coming up you can kind of talk about?
I do have another. I've got a project I'm working on with Scout Comics right now called Volume, and that's a very exciting story. We're hoping to have that out probably closer to late summer, early fall. So we're working on that right now. That's sort of another all ages story, young adult story, and it is the idea of a dystopian society. And it's all devoid of color. And it sort of mixes music, punk music, with comics and sort of trying to take down the machine.
Nice.
And so as music starts coming into these characters' lives, color starts coming.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's a really cool story, really special story. I think it's really appropriate now, and it's exciting. We're really excited about it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I really love the black and white stuff. Just in general, I've been into like German expressionism really recently. So I thought of Metropolis, and that was a cool like black and white movie. That's really neat. That's neat. That sounds super interesting. I'm excited for that. Is there is that going to be like a Patreon exclusive too, or is that going to be?
That should hopefully be out as a monthly comic. So later this year we should be looking to have that out, and then hopefully a little bit down the road should be looking into possibly another Vault title. So there's just kind of a lot of things going on, and hopefully they all land.
Awesome. Yeah, Venomized Ryan. He's our #1 fan.
I think we just sold you a commission there.
He buys a lot of commissions. He buys a lot of commissions, and he would love Venom from you. So yeah, you guys will be in touch soon, I'm sure.
Awesome.
And technically, that's money out of our pocket, but we don't care. It's okay.
Yeah, he's normally super chatting left and right. And tonight he's like, "Nah, I think I'm going to buy some artwork. But I love you anyway."
He's getting more for his money anyway.
Yeah, we provide nothing.
Circumvent the system.
We got some more questions coming in. Ninja Finger says, "What's the most challenging part of working in the comics industry?" All of it, maybe.
That's a good solid answer.
Deadlines, maybe.
Deadlines are tough. I think one that I didn't anticipate being challenging was the isolation of working in the comics industry, and talking from other people, other pros. I think that's pretty common because it is like we're all working from different places. There isn't really an office that you go to. There's no studio that you go to where we all hang out and make comics. I mean, some people have those.
Sure.
But a lot of
really,
us don't.
A
lot of us work
not like it used to be anyway.
Yeah, a lot of us work from our couches and our kitchen tables and stuff like that. And so there is kind of a sense of, I don't know, being sort of detached from it, but also a part of it, and kind of trying to deal with that bit of isolation.
Do you find yourself being more of like an extroverted person, but then being like even more stuck inside?
I think I found the reverse with the lockdown and everything. I found myself kind of reaching out more to people. So it was sort of the reverse. It sort of forced me to get out of my bubble of just constantly working and having my head down. So if you want to look for a silver lining, that would be part of it.
Totally.
Something I saw a while. I
can't remember.
I can't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Ryan Stegman. Somebody talking about that, being in isolation. And that was before all this started, as a comic book pro, artist, writer, whatever. And they talked about setting up Skype calls and just having all their friends in a Skype call while they're, and they had like office hours. Like, I'm going to go draw from 9 to 5 and we're all going to be there together. And they had Skype open. I thought that was an interesting aspect because I work from home too. But I have, I am with all of my coworkers, friends, people that I've met over the years. So there's still that communication, whereas being an artist, it's a different animal.
Yeah. Well, and it depends, everybody works differently too. So I think some people work really well closed off, like headphones on, buried in it. And some people like that back and forth, like chit chat, while you're working. I tend to be like, I want my headphones on, specifically with comics. Comics require kind of all of my focus.
Yeah.
So I'm not the best at working on comics in a group co-working setting, but if I'm working on commissions or other artwork, then I can usually kind of multitask a little bit better. But yeah, I think that kind of setup, that Skype setup, co-working is really important if you can create that environment, or you've got other people to help you create that environment. Because yeah, it can definitely feel like you're detached from everything, not just the industry, but just society. Sometimes you can feel like you're just in your whole.
It seems like
What was that?
Oh, I was going to say, it seems like two extremes, because on one hand, you're at home or wherever you're working by yourself, and then you can like go to a convention to do commissions with tons of people all around you, all asking you questions and talking to you. So it's like two extremes you got to be able to handle.
Yeah, that would be really difficult. I never really thought about that dynamic. I can imagine. Like I would feel like I would need complete silence, or just headphones on to concentrate if I was drawing or writing something. And but I can see how that would have its toll. Doing that all the time. That's cool. You're reaching out and find a new kind of thing to do. to reach out to people.
I mean, I still kind of have to do my whole like, well, I'm just going to work today and not talk to anybody. But I do find that when I reach out, or if somebody reaches out to me and we kind of create some sort of Skype talk or co-working session, like it always kind of bolsters. Hey, Bram.
I was going to say, this feels like a trick. This feels like a trick question.
Right.
My favorite thing I drew this week. Oh God, what? I've actually been working on a war story. I'm just finishing it up today, actually.
Nice.
So it's a true war story anthology that I'm working on, and I drew a panel. Technically, I drew this last night, but it was super early. It was like 2, so it was technically today. But yeah, it was a vista shot over the jungle with like big military trucks, and started out thinking I was going to be really simple with it and wound up getting really complicated with it. But I think the end result was really cool. So that's probably my favorite thing.
Nice.
That's awesome.
What's that coming out on? Can you talk more about that?
That's through Z2, the publisher Z2.
Cool.
And I don't know a whole lot of details about when exactly it's coming out, but it's a really cool collection of stories, all true war stories. Some of it's just slice of life war stories. Some of it's a little bit more dramatic. But yeah, really, really cool, and excited for that to come out later.
That's awesome. Yeah, Boogie here is a big war buff.
Cool.
And we love those true stories. There's one I've been wanting to read recently. It was called 6 Days, and it was a small like tale that happened in World War II about like an invasion of a small French village. And this, World War II American army parachuted into the wrong section that was occupied by a bunch of Nazis. And so they landed in the wrong spot, and they were just bombarded by a bunch of troops. And apparently, one of the guys or 2 of the guys lived through it. But yeah, so it's their journey. And I was like, wow, I got to read that.
That's awesome.
But that's super cool. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, that sounds neat.
Thank you.
I like war conspiracy stories where you hear about these war people or soldiers in wars who run across supposedly dinosaurs or something in the
center of the earth or
monsters. They gotta fight them off.
Some more fiction. That's fun. What did you used to like? What did you used to like to do before all this happened? Like as a side thing besides comics, like adventure out, fun hobby on the side or something.
Oh, okay, like outside of art and outside of
real life.
Yeah, real life.
Real life. I'm an outside person, so I'm always big on trying to find new hikes. I live in New Mexico, so there's mountains and hiking trails everywhere. So that's been a big thing for me. And then it's kind of waned lately, the longer we've been kind of on lockdown. But I like exercising. I work in Krav Maga. So prior to lockdown and everything getting shut down, that's
Boogie as well. He's a Krav Maga guy. Yeah.
Nice.
No, come on, don't get it confused. Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah, jiu-jitsu. That's right.
He's gonna win
the one martial art that is dominant.
I was actually waiting for you to say that you fight dinosaurs.
Oh, unfortunately not that cool, but
secret hobby.
She's preparing. She's training.
Yeah.
She's getting
That's
ready.
what the Krav Maga's for.
Right.
I live in Pittsburgh. I live in Pittsburgh now, but I used to live out in Arizona. But I've driven through New Mexico many times. I'm trying to remember where that Flintstones museum was. It's somewhere on the side of the road, but I can't remember if it was somewhere in Arizona or New Mexico.
I think it's in Arizona, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
there's some dinosaurs like on the side.
Yeah, it's so desolate and barren and like weird.
Yeah, once you leave Gallup, New Mexico, and you drive to Flagstaff, Arizona, that is just wasteland.
Yeah,
there's nothing there. Like
right.
The petrified forest are there, and then the Flintstones Museum. Yeah.
I was reminded of that recently. That's one reason I brought it up was on this other YouTube channel called Cartoonist Kayfabe, and this dude was going through this big ass like art collection. It was, man, who was bought? I forgot what it was called, but it was something I ordered through Amazon. It was such a great collection of art. And one of them was like, they took a trip through the Flintstones Museum. and the guy that was talking in the video was like, yeah, I've been through there and it looks as desolate as it is on the picture. I was like, yes, amen. I totally forgot about that. So
yeah, there's like 2 trees. I'm like,
right.
This is Lawson, I don't even know if I should. This is such a weird question. I was just wondering if Skylar Patridge is your real name.
It is.
Well, he wants to get excited and say you made a great choice. I don't know what that means, Lawson. Get out of here. I got to share my screen again because I was looking through some of your artwork and your commissions and all that good stuff, and this one is amazing. Oh, are you a wrestling fan or was this a commission?
No, I'm a wrestling fan. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The story behind this actually stems from my friend Vita Ayala. They had actually did a fan casting of Red Sonja. This was, I think, maybe close to 2 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had said that they thought Becky Lynch would be an amazing Red Sonja, and I was like, well, I have to draw that. And so this was the result of that conversation.
We have custom emojis for people that are members of our channel, and like we kind of rotate them out. We've had Captain Marvel when Kelly Thompson came on, and we had the Cantu character when Drew came on, just different stuff. And so this week I do a wrestling podcast on Thursdays, and I put the man logo. So this week that's down there. And then Ryan said, Boogie, you forgot to change one from the Wrestling Council. No, we left that one for this piece of art alone. I love it. Wow. It's so amazing. And it is a perfect casting. It's perfect.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Drew Manchu says the mom. Yeah, we did a whole show on that this week. Yeah. Congratulations.
Good for her.
So, she said she wants to have a family and that's awesome. She hit that peak and then she can walk away on top, or if she wants to come back, that's cool too.
That's super dope,
that's what George Costanza did.
Wow. Okay.
You leave on top, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
My favorite, I mean, since we're talking about wrestling in New Mexico,
awesome.
My favorite wrestler.
What an ultimate segue.
My favorite wrestler was Cactus Jack, who hailed from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Nice.
I don't know if that's a real place. But
it is. There's a lot of,
no way.
Yeah, that's a totally real place. Yeah. I'm sure there's some like grisly history behind that. I actually don't know the history behind the name, but it is a real place. And there's a lot of interesting Pie Town. That's a real place out here. It specializes in pie.
There's a lot of songs that feature Gallup, like Route 66. Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
a lot of good. That's a heavily traveled place.
Yep.
Boogie, you might as well not ever come back to the show. The direction of this thing is gone.
She's a martial artist. She likes wreestling. I'm pointless. There's a reason my internet.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're gonna see you next week. Because you're taking.
So sorry. If you're gonna talk wrestling, then I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your favorite wrestling match of all time?
Oh.
Yep, I'm claiming my territory back.
I have 2. I would say Evolution between Charlotte and Becky. 2018. And then I believe it was it the Hell in the Cell Undertaker and
Mankind?
Yes, Mankind.
Yeah, good one. Definitely.
So those are my 2, like I always have those ready. That's my favorite.
So incredible. Yeah.
I love women's wrestling now. And that's what I talk about all the time on the Wrestling Council. Like it used to just be such a waste. And now like they're athletes and they don't call them the divas. It's women's wrestling. I like the stuff Becky's doing, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bailey, all those girls, man, they're having amazing matches. But this isn't the Wrestling Council. I just took over.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Boogie, where can we see the Wrestling Council though?
You can see it every Thursday here or over at Akari Press. Go subscribe. We'll be hanging out on Antonio's channel Thursday at 9 p.m. talking about everything that happened in the week of wrestling. And then also next Saturday, right here on the S&B Network, we're going to be watching AEW Double or Nothing live on the S&B Network. So come hang out. It's going to be a long stream, but we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. That's nice. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we did it for Money in the Bank. It was good times. So I don't know where to go. What else you guys got? You guys run the show.
Want to recommend wrestling matches? How about Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman versus Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone?
Man, yeah, wow.
That the other day from back. Oh man, it is. I was like, what is going on? And how's Dennis Rodman not have like a hyperextended neck from hitting the ropes as hard? Like what is happening? He would just fall down on him and bounce off.
You created this monster.
I did. It's my fault, and I tried to get out of wrestling, and then we go right back to it.
Did you guys? This train. I'm sorry, Skylar. I will derail any train.
I had all the technical issues.
In comics, it's fine. In and out, whatever.
I mean, would you like to do a wrestling comic? I mean, we've seen a lot of them. I mean, some different ones come out. Jim Cornette had his own comic.
Michael Kingston, aren't you friends with Michael?
Yeah. I was actually going to say, I've done some work with Michael for Headstrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And,
wait a minute. What'd you do on Headlocked? What'd you do on Headlocked?
I haven't done any work in the comic format for him, but I've done some stuff. I did a pinup for, I believe it was, I don't know if it was Emerald City last year. I did a pinup for WoW. Last year, or no, it was SDCC last year. They had the whole I don't know if it was the whole lineup of WoW, but there were a bunch of wrestlers from WoW that were there. And so I did a pinup for that. When you got in line to meet all of them, you got one of those. So I did sort of an exclusive SDCC print for him. And then I did a Lita print couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. So I've done some pinup stuff for him and stuff like that. But yeah, I would always be down for wrestling stuff.
And his wrestling conventions are nuts because he has the best guests and his lines are so long.
Yeah.
So long.
That's what I hear. I have an opportunity to actually meet him in person though. So
what do you have? I mean, with all the everything going on, like, did you do a lot of conventions before everything happened?
Yeah, actually, I kind of came into comics through conventions. So I had done, I'd been drawing and reading comics for the majority of my life, but started making some friends that were already doing comic conventions, and that kind of encouraged me to start getting back into artwork. I kind of ebbed and flowed in and out of making comics and making artwork. And so I started actually working at a comic art gallery in Albuquerque. And it's since closed, unfortunately. But just working there, I met a lot of other comic artists and comic writers and just kind of local people in the area. And they encouraged me to kind of get back into it and start looking into local conventions. And so then once I did my first show, I knew I loved it. I loved the convention scene and then just making the artwork itself. And so that encouraged me to kind of branch out. So I started looking at shows in Colorado and shows in Texas and kind of going from there. And then just doing those shows, you meet more and more people. It kind of forces you to keep making work. So you're pushing yourself to get better every time. And so I kind of networked through conventions that then pushed into more concrete comic work.
And I want to say again, one of my favorite things that you like, I love your commissions. I really do. I think your commissions are so good. And I'm putting your website is in the description below. I'm also putting it in the live chat, and just encourage you guys to go look at her art and look at the rates. Everything is there. Everything you need is there. But yeah, I could see how you do. You probably do really well at conventions, I would imagine.
I mean, every show, you never know, but yeah, they're good. They're fun at the very least, just to get out of your isolation bubble. So.
Any good convention stories?
Oh, this is a great question.
My best convention story would be I once drove in a hot van from New Mexico to Ventura, California for a show with 6 other dudes. It was me and 6 dudes in a van driving to California to a show in Ventura, and it was a bad show. It was a very bad show. They didn't do any publicity for it, so nobody showed up. And it was an unusually hot weekend. So we were in Quonset huts on the beach, and it was like 87 degrees. And the Quonset huts didn't have air conditioning. So it was like a small setup of artists and vendors and some, there were some comic people there, and just all of us sweating to death. And nobody showing up. And it was just like a slightly less expensive trip to Ventura. There was no money making that weekend.
That's so brutal.
At least there's a beach. A beach, I guess. But I remember like begging my mom, and she would drive me to these random Ramada inns that would have these comic conventions in these small ballrooms. And you just like everyone in there, once again, like you said, no air conditioning. So everyone's just sweating. Yep. And it's like you see a whole row of comics and you got pit stains. You're like, well, let's get the fingers going and start flipping through comics.
Right, you need your like little archival gloves.
Yeah. Those I don't see as many of those because I would get wind of them when I was subscribed to Wizard magazine, and they would have them posted in the back. But I don't see a lot of those small conventions anymore like I used to.
They still exist to some degree, but I haven't seen them as much recently. But I haven't been traveling quite as much for shows as recent within the last year or two as I used to. But yeah, before I really got into making comics, one of the first conventions I went to as an adult was, I don't remember if it was a Ramada or if it was a Hilton or what, but yeah, it was in the lobby of like a hotel, and it was sort of a mixture like comics, toys. And it was a nice hotel, so it was really pretty, and there was water, like they had the little fountain with the waterfall and everything. But yeah, it was just like 2 rooms with some old toys and some long boxes and not much going on, but I think they still exist.
Minimize Ryan is taking care of business in the chat. He wants to know I don't know if you want to, you don't have to answer this on there if you don't want to. Is that
the base number is for pencils, and then there should be a number for adding inks and a number for adding color onto that.
The good thing is Ryan left, and he is going to buy your artwork right now.
He's getting something for sure. Yeah,
there's no doubt. These going where it's at.
Yeah, I'd like to request a store tab so I can buy things that you've already made, and I can just pick and choose whatever.
That's on my list. Yeah, I actually have it on my to-do list of like adding the store into the.
Awesome, thank you.
I just thought of something interesting is when it comes to art, for some reason, and I've seen some variant covers recently come out with this. But I like it when the artist is doing this pencils but they leave it at the blue pencils. I don't know what's the technical term for those are, but with the
pencil,
yeah, the blue pencil.
Yeah, the blue pencil. Like one time,
we should have made something up, y'all. We should have made a word up for the blue pencils.
What was Adam doing that? Adam's taking us for a tour.
Photo blue, I think, is the technical term for it. Yeah.
Juggernaut was blue pencil, and I begged the guy I was like, I'll buy the blue pencils, just leave it. But he wouldn't. He had to finish it. He had to finish the pencils. He's like, I don't want to leave the blue pencils. So I was like, but I like the blue pencils.
Yeah, I do too, honestly. I've bought art that's just pencils before. Like I've got it was red pencil instead of blue, but I bought some stuff from Billy Fowler, who does amazing work, and it was just his pencils. So
can you talk a little about the process? I know a lot of artists use blue pencils, and you can, I guess, easily change that in the process. And in the after part, it's easier to whiten up or take out. Mm-hmm. And I guess back in the day, they used to use red pencils a lot. And that one, whenever you try to process it to the comic book form, it usually comes out more black. But I don't know why they used to use red so much. And maybe there's a way you can take it out. I'm not sure if you can fill me in on that process.
I actually don't. I've heard that myself. I actually don't know why they used red.
Okay.
I mean, blue was so you could scan it in, and if it was the right shade of blue, it wouldn't be picked up by the scanner. But yeah, I'm not actually sure why they use the red. Maybe somebody in the
comments. I'm not an artist. I've just kind of always wondered, and I figured, maybe
I use red just because I like the way it looks, but,
totally.
But it does show up on the scanner, so you kind of have to be planning to have the red in there. So.
How about your own process when you draw stuff? Do you have a certain list you go down, like a checklist, or certain things that you got to do? Your process,
I I work digitally and traditionally, so it
nice.
varies depending on whether I'm working digitally or traditionally. But yeah, if I'm working traditionally, I'm a blue pencil person. So I start everything out. I kind of have a couple of stages of pencils, and then I go in with the ink. I'm a little less concerned with if I'm working traditionally with ink, about precision there. I want the lines to be precise when I get started though. So I usually start with blue pencil, and then I'll move into a darker color, either like a dark purple or just straight graphite. And then I can go in with the ink. So I kind of have about usually 2 steps in penciling. So super messy, then start refining it down as it gets darker. And I can see the lines a little easier to throw the inks down.
Do you whenever you do digital, do you use like your iPad? I guess you. Okay.
Oh wow.
Do you have certain like apps or things you got to use, or do you have like a Wacom tablet?
Procreate, actually. I know
Procreate. A lot of people use Procreate.
Yeah, I know a lot of people use Clip Studio. I have it. I have not like educated myself on it yet though. But I started using Procreate because it was like $5 and I wanted to.
Yeah, a lot of people use Procreate.
Yeah, so that's actually, I do the majority of all my digital work in Procreate right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I've kind of getting myself more into the headspace or process of how artists do these things. I never really considered myself like an artist or anything, and I haven't drawn in forever. But like getting back into comics in the last couple of years, I was like, man, I used to draw comics when I was a kid, make my own stuff up, and I was like, maybe I should start getting into that instead of like, storytelling as well. But it's like, so it's kind of fun for me, even more so interviewing different artists and writers, and being on the opposite end of being a reviewer, because I feel like a lot of people that were reviewers end up going to that side of the stuff. I feel like Joshua Williamson, we're covering Nailbiter. I think he was a reviewer at one time. And like a couple other people that are, in the industry now are used to start off as reviewers.
How interesting is this? Like, as I was reading the murder edition of Nailbiter, on the back, it's got a quote from David Pepos as a reviewer who now, I mean, we've had him on as a creator, and he kind of talked about that, moving from a reviewer into a creator.
Yeah, man.
We're going to get you out of here shortly, but I just one more question, and I hope you didn't already answer it while I was dealing with my stupid computer. But like influences as an artist in general, not necessarily comics, where it could be comics. I think I saw, was it your mom or your grandmother? Somebody else in your family was an artist. Is that where you pull your inspiration, or what other places?
My grandmother was definitely one of the first people to sort of see that I was artistically inclined. So she was an artist as well. So she did a lot of watercolors and pen and inks, more fine art oriented stuff. But she saw pretty early on that as long as she handed me a pencil, like I would busy myself. And that was just something that I kind of naturally did without needing to be prompted. So she was very much like, anytime I was taken to go spend the afternoon with her or whatever, like she had the art supplies ready. So she had the big roll of paper, that I could string out across the kitchen table. Yeah. And watercolors, and like she very much fostered that. And then I was really fortunate that my parents were also totally fine with encouraging me to keep pushing artistically, and never really told me I shouldn't do it. So having that sort of foundation kind of kept me, I never felt like I needed to stop that. So I always kind of pursued it in some way. Even when I wasn't actively working as an artist, I was usually doing something creative or artistic.
That's awesome. I got 2 questions for you before we let you go. One is like, I got to know what you're reading, watching, something like listening to, like what media are you taking in right now currently? And then the second one is, can you recommend anything that's not so popular that you're into that you want to share,
In comics?
Or anything, any kind of media. Yeah. Any kind of dope stuff that you want to, more people should know about this.
Media I'm consuming right now. Right now I'm still rewatching Community since it's been put up on
I've been on a Community kick right now. I haven't watched it in forever, ever since it came out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me give you this like a second rewatch, and I'm falling back in love with it. I'm probably halfway through season 1 right now.
They're doing all kinds of great
stuff. They have that new
Yeah.
podcast show with the
so
2 guys,
good.
and they had the whole cast on it
Darkest
recently.
Timeline. Yeah.
So awesome.
good.
No, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm just about to finish up like there's a couple of episodes I went back to watch, and I'm just about ready to finish it up. So I'm like, I need more. I'm not ready to get done with it yet. But yeah, every time I rewatch it, I'm like,
oh my god, I love Community.
Yeah. It's like ups and downs, but overall,
sure.
like it's a solid show, and it's got.
That's probably my favorite like TV show. Just it has so many like pop culture references, and it's come at you like right away, like so many like off the bat. And it's so witty and clever. I love it.
I don't know if it's just I'm older now or what, but watching it now, it has the ability to like catch you every once in a while where you're like, oh, I'm feeling things, like, oh God, like you get hit in the field every once in a while, and it's always stealthily, like you're not expecting it. Which, I think that's what makes it such a special show, is that it's silly and the characters are all kind of like neurotic, but there's like a heart to it. There's always usually a good message, and I've gotten choked up more than once watching it.
Totally. I feel you on that. That's awesome.
But yeah, Community's the thing I'm rewatching right now. I've been listening to Haley Williams just put out a new album.
No, from Paramore. All right.
Yeah.
I live in Nashville, so she's a local
great.
girl. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I started listening to Paramore in college, like early college, and they're a band that like I kind of forget about them, and then I'd come back and rediscover them and listen to their music again. So that's just been kind of one I didn't anticipate getting into, but have actually really enjoyed that album. And then I tend to just shuffle Spotify a lot, and that's how I discover new stuff. But yeah, Grandson is another one of my favorite bands.
Grandson.
People to check out. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of music is Grandson?
It is. I would say it's mostly like alt rock. It's kind of a mixture of different genres, I would say. But that's a band that I feel like pretty much every song I like. Like every time I hear a new song, I always enjoy them.
All right.
And there's some good stuff. If you like exercising, I feel like they're good for adding to your exercise playlist too.
Oh man, that's right. That's right. I forgot you're a fighter, so you got an exercise routine now too.
Yeah.
You need to stop punching people and learn to choke them. It's way more fun.
I want to know both. Like, just tell me how to be the most devastating. Like,
get into
jiu-jitsu. Person in the world.
Jiu-jitsu is a cult. I'm telling you, if you get into it, it'll change your life. I love it.
Mostly, I'm just worried. Like, there's a lot of proximity in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, like right now, like where I train, they're back to having classes.
Really?
My instructor messaged me, and I'm like, no, man, I'm not coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Sorry,
man.
I
haven't even checked with my gym to see if they're doing classes again yet, but I wouldn't feel comfortable. Even like Krav isn't as close as jiu-jitsu, but it's still, you're right there, So
yeah, we've had a lot of tangents, and I've loved it. This has been great.
Good, yeah.
I had technical difficulties, but these guys handle it. They're pros. They're excellent.
When you come out with something like new, can we do this again?
Totally. Yeah. Feel free to reach out.
Open invitation. Yeah.
You guys are awesome to talk to.
All the links are in the description. Go check out all of Skylar's work. Be like Venomized Ryan. Go pick up a commission.
Yeah.
But we thank you for coming on. We'll be behind you. We'll be supporting you. When something new comes out, your open invitation. Come back whenever you want.
Awesome. I so appreciate that. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Later. Thanks for coming on.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
My favorite part of that was when Jason asked Skylar what she was into, and Bob decided to answer the question in the chat.
Hey, why don't you shut up, Gaumer? I was enjoying Bob's answers. You know what disappoints me more than anything?
No, Ozark's awesome.
This is the biggest disappointment. I'm all prepared for Rocky. I've got my beautiful figures back here. My computer crashes, and I'm even wearing Mick's gym.
That's awesome.
I had to dig this out of the back of the closet, and I didn't even get to show it off.
Dude, I remember the day Mick died. Meredith Burgess.
Yeah. He also played Penguin on the Batman 66. My favorite role of his in the Twilight Zone is one of the
I'm pretty sure I still have the newspaper clipping from my local Arizona newspaper where I was at when he died. I'm pretty sure I still have the clipping of when he died. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I loved it. My favorite thing he did was that Twilight Zone episode where
the first episode.
He just wants to read.
Yeah.
And then there's a nuclear holocaust, and he has time to read. And then he breaks his glasses. Spoiler alert. Oh, it's just heart-wrenching.
But you know what? There's a bunch of optometry stores in the whole world. So
sure. But still,
you're fine.
The poetry of it. The poetry of it.
Yeah, the poetry flow of it. And there is some plot holes. You'll be fine. You don't be so sad for him, but
I will also say though, but to Bob's comment on Ozark, Bob, watch Ozark, but think of it as a dark comedy, it changes the entire show, and it's awesome.
Yeah, everyone loves Ozark. I gotta watch it. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
And this is why Comic Book Bob is my favorite person in the chat.
There it is. Answer is always Rocky.
Yeah, me and Jason, we're all synced up over here because we know what the best Rocky movie is.
Which one's leading in terms of what our guests have said?
Rocky 1.
That's because everybody is so fake. They're like,
everybody's so fake.
Everyone has seen Rocky 1, though.
Anybody who disagrees with me, obviously, is just being pretentious.
No. It's like saying, what's your favorite episode of a TV show? You always have to see issue 1. You got to see episode 1 or read issue 1. Everyone sees the first one, and then not many people follow up after that of whatever.
Jason's right. How many people have said, well,
maybe it's because number 1 is a classic film and the other ones are not. That's why more people have seen the first one. It's an Oscar-winning.
I'm pretty sure Jonathan Hickman wrote it.
Oh, dude! Again,
as someone who's
I knew it was going to
fight today. This is the weirdest show ever. Thanks, Venomized Ron. I was excited for this one, and it's been a train wreck ever since.
I've enjoyed it. Weird. I've had a great time.
Me too. But it has been a little weird. Yeah.
Yeah, he dies in his arms after Apollo does a 20-minute dance number. Give me a break, Bob. Come on.
Living in
Apollo
America
deserved to die.
Right? No, take it back.
He did. What are you talking about? His ego got in his way.
Thank you. All right.
Now, do you all want to talk about Rocky? Actually, I probably have to get rid of Adam too before we can have that conversation. Rocky 3 is the only acceptable answer other than Rocky 4.
Oh, it's great.
No way. Rocky 3 is not bad. None of them are bad. I'm just saying, if we're talking about good Rocky movies, then yes.
That's how Aliens is too.
Rocky
people are like, oh,
if we're talking
Aliens
about the better movie.
People are like, Aliens is better than Alien, but I like Alien better. But all the
you're wrong about that too, Jason.
People that are 10 years older than me are always like, Aliens is better because I saw that when I was in high school.
No, Aliens is better.
You know what I mean? It's like that certain time of coming across a certain media at a certain time, like age and mindset. That's why people think Aliens is better than Alien. It's not.
Are you suggesting I saw Rocky in the theater in 76?
I'm saying,
should I ban Man Alien from the chat?
Oh, no.
No. There's no banning on the Rocky. There's no wrong answer.
I don't know. If you say Rocky 5, it's pretty close. You better hit the like button, man.
That is the only wrong answer.
I better at least get a thumbs up if you're going to speak that nastiness in the chat.
But no, Alien is great. Alien is awesome. But Aliens.
This is what I'm talking about, Adam.
Has so much more going for it, dude. As a sci-fi movie, as an action movie, it literally defined the horror action genre.
How do you feel about Terminator 2 versus Terminator 1?
Terminator 1 is the better movie.
Terminator 2, same thing.
Terminator 1 is the better movie because the entire hook of those movies, besides them being just action movies, is the time travel trope
I'm so disappointed. I'm going to take a pee break and refill my beer.
Wow. Oh, this is a first for Jason. I will
Terminator
say,
movie.
since we've started yelling at each other, the live chat is growing like crazy.
Yeah, come on, guys. We haven't even started on what we're really going to yell about.
Oh, yeah.
There's a main event tonight. I don't get it.
Oh, God, I'm going to yell at you.
The adoration for this book on this podcast makes me want to not host on this podcast
anymore. It. It's not it's just me. Nobody else cares.
Yeah, I think it's just you. And
it is.
We disagree
because I'm stupid and I like it.
Yeah. No, Terminator 2 is a better action movie. They're all chase movies. There's bigger. They blew up a building in Terminator 2. It must be a better movie. What are you talking about? No, the entire hook of the Terminator franchise is the time travel paradox hook. Terminator did it first in movies. It existed in novels and things like that. But Terminator, the first Terminator movie, did that whole paradox thing with the time travel.
You can't focus and read that comment at the same time.
And that's why it's a better movie. Let's talk about Star Trek movies. What's the best Star Trek movie? Chad?
I wasn't going to say this on air, but I'm going to say it.
Oh, no.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody
Rhodes, professional wrestler, AEW executive vice president, was asked, what's better? Because he likes both, Star Wars or Star Trek. He said Star Wars is for the common man. Star Trek is for smart people.
He's exactly right.
And I immediately thought of you.
An unfair comparison, and let me answer that with something a smart person would say. Star Wars is not science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy set in space. Star Trek is science fiction, which involves more than just dealing with like gizmos and fancy words. It's like political science fiction, socio-political science fiction, things like that Star Trek deals with. Star Wars deals with more like personal issues. You know what I mean? Like,
man, something I wanted to ask Skylar, because you can tell she's a Star Wars fan, whether you want to say it's a fanatic or just a casual. She just enjoys them. I wanted to know, is it the old school, or is it the prequels, or is it the Disney trilogy? I feel like there's 3 different fan bases. I like them all. Like, I like The Last Jedi is. I'll still watch it. It's not that great. And Rise of Skywalker, same way. But The Force Awakens, when it came out, I was like, this is great.
You know what my favorite Star Wars movie is?
Empire Strikes Back.
Episode 1. Rogue One is great.
It's freaking amazing. It hits all the nails right on the head, and it uses kind of like how Clone Wars, the animated series, is the best Star Wars thing there is, period. Maybe Mandalorian, but there's just more of Clone Wars. Clone Wars is like a love letter to all of Star Wars. You know, it includes everything. It loves everything. And I think that's what Rogue One does. It says, no, we love the prequels. We're going to use those. We love the stuff that's coming later. We're going to, I love Rogue One.
My hot take is that Solo is underrated. I don't like the main actor. He's the only thing I don't like about it. But the rest of the movie, I dig it.
I like it
You
too.
sound like me when I left. I was like, it was all right. It was the same way when I watched The Last Jedi in theaters and Rise of Skywalker. I was like, it was all right. When I left after Rogue One, I was like, this is amazing.
That was good.
When I left after The Force Awakens, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I don't see movies in theaters. I saw Rogue One, I think, on Disney Plus was the first time I freaking watched it. But I remember as soon as it was over, I watched it again. Like immediately with The Last Jedi. Was that the last one? The Last Jedi? Or the
last one was Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
It was so bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad, but I mean, it's like you're given trash. It's like, how do you work with trash? After Last Jedi,
totally
you know?
agreed.
It's like,
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
All
right. Did anybody read anything other than the required books?
I feel like I did. What was I going to say?
I read some Transformers. I'm still going through that. There's a lot of it.
Well, I'm gonna scroll collarandelbowbrand.com across the bottom. Use the promo code ComicCast at checkout. Save 10% on the latest and greatest in professional wrestling merchandise. I mean, look at these shirts. Look at them. They're
so rad.
You can be the king of tigers. You can be Joe Exotic. Or you can be like Jason and you can trip and wear your Dark Side of the Ring shirt.
That's cool too.
I love it. Good shirts, good quality. Check them out. collarandelbowbrand.com. So did anybody read anything, or are we going to go right into it?
No, I read some Transformers. It was wonderful. I love it.
Dude, I've been buying stuff off of eBay like crazy.
Oh, cool.
I bought this Bill and Ted speaker and tape. Oh, wrong one.
I hit the wrong button.
Dude, from Kenner, Kenner Toys.
Yeah.
This cassette tape, new in a box, super rare. Oh,
Open it and see if it works.
No,
it does.
not open that.
You can actually listen to this tape on YouTube. It's okay. It's just regular riffing, and it goes on for way too long. But apparently, I got to track down these toys because you can plug in the amp. I was like, why is this cord there? I thought it was just for looks. Yeah. You can plug in the toys and you can like move them, and it plays like instruments and stuff. It comes out of the speaker, which is so dope. It's so cool. But, like, here's the back.
Oh, crap. Yeah, I had that.
Boogie's like, I gotta click again.
Yeah, you see that 2-pack down there, Jason?
Yeah. Dude, that's super rare and hard to find. Yeah,
I had that.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I really
don't have it now.
I want the 2-pack and like that booth, man.
Yeah, the booth is cool.
This Death is badass because he doesn't even look like the Death from the movie, but he's like.
I think I'd rather have George Carlin up.
Yeah, me too. I don't know, man. These are so cool though. But yeah, this is pretty rare and hard to find and like complete, like good condition.
That's what I was about to say. It looks like it's in pretty damn good condition too.
Yeah, dude, I put it on my watch list, and then he sent me a deal. He's like, "Yeah, I'll take this percentage off." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna buy that. I can't pass it up." So
good get, man.
Thanks,
For the record, Skylar just sent a DM to the ComicCast Twitter and says, "I agree with all of your Star Wars takes. Rogue One is probably my favorite Star Wars,
That's
along
awesome.
with the original trilogy." So
yes,
nice. See, we should have asked this
I was going to, but it kind of changed.
I'll blame the technical. Yeah, we'll blame the technical difficulty.
So I showed this in the pre-show. I didn't show it off here. But
show and tell. That's
Rick Veitch, dude. Rick Veitch, his Brat Pack stuff, Live Fast, Love Hard is one of those things that that hangs in the store, in the comic book store, like this little hole here, or you put on the door. But this side, Rick Veitch is known for his gruesomeness. Die with your mask on. This is so badass, and I love that font so much.
That's cool. The book I read of his is called The One. It came out in 2000.
You read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Yeah. I've read that too. I mean, he wrote that. Yeah. He wrote the book you're talking about too, right?
Yeah, Brat Pack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. He's great.
Yeah, he's dope.
He should do more.
All right, we're ready to get into the book.
Yeah, sorry, one last. Sorry. That's it.
Geez, yeah,
I've already seen this. This is boring.
Yeah, you saw that. That's it.
I gotta act like I didn't. I gotta just like the Nailbiter.
Oh wow!
I gotta act like I don't know what you're gonna say.
Oh, is that Detective 1000?
What?
Oh my!
Oh wow!
All right, let's do this thing. OutrightGeekery.com, your one-stop shop for news, reviews, previews, podcasts, everything geek at your fingertips. Also the home of the Outright Geekery Podcast Network. Check them out. The Geek Savs, Get Valiant, the Comic Book Bullies, Instruments of Destruction, and, of course, ComicCast. OutrightGeekery.com. I'm leading us in on this one. This is my book.
Yeah, it's dope.
And we're going to argue.
I think
these murder. Look, this is one of the few books.
That's 1 through 10, right? Issues 1 through 10 in that first volume.
There's three volumes of 10, but I bought them in single issues. I bought them in trade, and then I bought the collected murder edition. Adam's got my single issues and a few of the trades because it was one of those books where this released when I first started reading comics. So I grabbed the trades.
Do you want to say what it is for people that couldn't hear on the podcast?
You couldn't hear Nailbiter? No, I said Nailbiter.
I didn't think you said Nailbiter.
Nailbiter Volume 1.
There you go.
But
there will be blood.
It was one of those deals where I read the trades and then I was like, I gotta keep up and see what's going on. So I started buying the floppies, and then I got that's how much I like it. But Nailbiter, Volume 1, Issues 1 through 5, Joshua Williamson, Mike S. Henderson. What if 16 of the world's worst serial killers were born in the same town, and a detective disappears the day he puts all the puzzle pieces together?
Yeah.
You wrote that.
I'm so glad you recommended this because I've been trying to read this for so long. I've been wanting to read it for so long because I love Williamson's Flash run so much. And so I was like, oh man, I remember going to the store seeing Nailbiter on the shelves, and I was like, man, I want to read that, but it's too far along for me to jump on now. And so I never did. And it's been on my Comixology want list forever. It's the only thing that's been on my want list, so I remember to read that eventually. and you recommended it. I was like, yes, finally. I finally get to read it.
It's one of those books where I don't know if Lawson's still in the chat. Lawson's the guy that finally got me into the comic shop because I realized there are books that aren't just capes and tights. It's different types of stories. And maybe that's why it draws me in. Maybe that's why I like this book more than you guys did, or well, at least Gaumer did, because it's one of the books that hooked me, right? So it holds a special place with me. So how should we get it? I don't want to go first. Should we go with Gaumer first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
This is basically a police procedural investigating various linked crimes. Not only am I not a fan of police procedurals, as they are repetitive and boring.
Can we pause right there?
Yes.
Let's pause right there.
Sure. Pause anytime you want at my comments.
No, but that's fine. That's fine. But for me, as a critic or a reviewer, when you immediately say, I don't like this genre.
Exactly.
Right. Go ahead and continue.
No. Of course. That's why I put that at the beginning.
Right.
Because I want to preface
I'm glad you did. Because you said that to us, and I'm glad you said it on air. So
exactly. Because I want to preface all of the terrible things I'm going to say with, maybe this just isn't my cup of tea. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to make that caveat first and foremost.
That's like me with fantasy, like dragons and fairies and shit. Not my cup of tea. I'm not gonna.
Well,
7 to Eternity will change your mind, even though I dropped it.
Yeah,
Rick Remender. I think isn't that Rick
I like Remender. So
yeah, it was. That's a damn good book. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gaumer. Go ahead.
It'll change your mind. Because I hate that crap too.
But this one also was serial killers.
Sorry.
Which is a facet of pop culture that I detest it. For a lot of reasons, the biggest reason being
is that all our wives want to kill us.
Exactly.
That's gonna happen.
Are admired in this non-scientific way. They're almost like romanticized, and it's obnoxious. And this sort of it maybe doesn't lean into that, but it certainly addresses it in a way that I thought was had a more positive spin on it. All right, let's get really into me crapping all over this, Boogie. Are you ready?
Yep.
Lead, let me tell you why it's bad from the first panel.
I don't know if this is the way to start this review, but go ahead.
In the first scene, right, he's attempting suicide. The lead. At
He's
no
not
time.
the lead.
No,
he's in the book. It starts off as the lead, but then they change the character of who is the lead eventually.
Remember, we're reviewing the first 5 issues.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not reviewing anything past volume 1.
Yeah,
because that was the assignment. So he's attempting suicide, and at no time in this first volume, anyway, does this appear to actually define him as a character. And they never get back to it. But to me, that seems like
let's break it down. Let's break it down point by point. Let's break it down point by point. So you're talking about this. This is the way you open the book, right? You open it up. Let me get there. Dang it.
He does talk about the suicide thing with the girl cop, the sheriff, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you almost did that." Yeah, not in volume 1.
Yeah. Calm down, Jason. Let's stay in the first 5. So we open with heartbeats, right?
I love that.
And Carol busting in to arrest the Nailbiter. And then when we flip over, you get the reveal. There's the Nailbiter, blood everywhere. I'm not going to show that, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get more. And this artwork.
Dude, the onomatopoeias, the framework, that's awesome. I love that.
Look at this artwork, dude.
Yeah, that's great.
Heartbeats, the panels.
That's awesome.
And it's like, okay, who is this guy? What's going on? And then you flip the page and you've got gunned ahead, ready to commit suicide.
Right.
But what draws me to this character is you're like, well, they don't really touch on it anymore. You know why? Because he needs the mission. He's Army intelligence. He needs the mission. And when the phone rings as he's about to do the deal, and he's like, all right, this is something to live for, the mission. So the suicide and all that takes a seat on the back burner.
It's his best friend. He wants to find his best friends. Yeah.
He's focused on the mission.
His friend needs him. Yeah.
He's focused on the mission.
That's certainly.
I thought it wasn't more of a mission, more of a like, my friend needs me. And so
but as Army intelligence.
No, he is Army intelligence, but that finding his friend is, I mean, I feel like he has to help a friend.
Yeah,
to me, what I mean? It gives him a reason to keep going, not so much a mission.
No. Like, I understand what you guys are saying about what this guy did in that single panel that you think is okay. I understand. To me, it seemed like a cheap way to engage an audience. Oh, this guy must be compelling in some other way besides what is on the surface.
He becomes a background character almost immediately. Yeah.
No, not in the first volume. He's the guy.
Yeah. Jason's missing the boat.
The first issue, he's the guy.
The first 5 issues.
The first 5 issues, he's the guy.
All right.
I think you're lost because you read 30 issues.
Yeah, I read the whole series.
It seemed like a shallow way to make. It seemed like a weird way to use mental illness to make a shallow character seem deeper without actually delving into.
It's not.
It is.
No.
But
you're saying it's shallow. But wait. You're dealing with Army intelligence
of what makes a character compelling, and then not dive into that compelling facet of the character.
But again, because he is on the mission. He is on the. You take dudes in the military. You bring him back home.
He's in the mission. For 5 issues, they couldn't get to that.
Let's talk about why he's going to do that.
But how many days?
What do you mean? Because it would have made the character more compelling.
How many days pass in those 5 issues? A few.
I didn't write it, so I can't decide how many days I was going to put into the 5 issues. But they certainly could have done more with that. And I'm saying that is a compelling facet of the character that they did not get back to.
Did you ever watch the show 24?
No, I didn't watch it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a cop, whatever, anti-terrorism.
Every show's an hour.
Every season is 24 hours, right? So in that 24-hour period, he's not worried about all that stuff because he's focused on the mission. And that's what I take from Finch's character. I think you want too much. Let's slow down and breathe and talk about it and expand on it.
Because there were times when they slowed down.
There's so many ideas.
They literally visited Homeboy in the hospital twice before the 5 issues were over. And that was like the last 3 issues. You know, when they find him in the bottom of the thing at like the end of issue 3, And then issue 4 and 5, there are moments when they go to the hospital to visit him. I'm not saying that that's a moment to calm down, but I'm saying it's certainly an opportunity to build up this character as more than this single faceted guy. Because that's
maybe it was a cheap trick to get me interested early.
Yeah,
maybe I feel like that's what you're saying,
and it works.
It works.
But
yeah,
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying I've seen it before.
The character,
and I wanted to see more of it.
He's our POV into this world from the get-go. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's this book is not called whatever his character name was. It's called
the Finch Chronicles.
Dude, yeah, it's called Nailbiter. Like, it's about the murderer, the most popular murderer from the city. So he's the
Edward Charles Warren. Let's address him by name, Jason. If we're going to talk about it.
I've soaked in so many different names.
There's like, not as much of him in this first volume, and that's what I'm sticking at.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of teasing him. It's teasing him is what it's doing.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to go to is that there's so many things that Scott. I feel like Williamson has such a big idea. He had so many ideas to fall onto. He couldn't dive into everything as deep as he wanted to.
You should have dove into something deeper, something for me to latch onto, because I'll get to it. Yeah. The most compelling character in the whole thing was the last issue cliffhanger. What's her name? Alice, the teenager, that girl. Mm-hmm. She's the most compelling character in the whole damn first volume. Yeah. She's the cliffhanger because of course I want to know more about her. Of course I do, because she's the most interesting character.
Let's do what you want Finch to do, and let's breathe. So Alice is your favorite character. Adam, who's your favorite character?
She's the most interesting character.
Adam, who do you think is the most compelling character?
Adam,
I wish I had this question beforehand, because now I'm trying to think of who was the character that stuck out the most to me, and I would say it was the Nailbiter guy, the actual.
Okay. So what about you? Edward? What about you? What about you, Jason?
I'm probably going to say the Nailbiter guy as well. Although, I don't know, man. Once you see the POV and you have a character that's your point of view character that you follow through his journey, his eyes, his adventures to see and get perspective on the town, I don't think you can say anyone else besides that detective dude. You know what I mean?
Finch is my most compelling character.
Sure.
And it's because, again, it's the crap he's been through before this series even started. And then we're seeing the aftermath of that. So look, we got 4 people here and 3 different characters that are the most compelling.
Sure.
What's that? That's character development.
No, I don't know if
it's not.
I don't know if it's character development. Just giving you a.
It should have been Finch this whole entire time. He should have been the main character the whole way. But I feel like after volume 1, they give up on that, and they're like, okay, because they thought that this wasn't going to be an ongoing. They wrote volume 1 as by itself. They wrote volume 2 by itself. They wrote volume 3 by itself. Yeah.
Jason didn't do the homework correctly.
Can I?
Yeah. I read the whole thing, but I saw the back. I read the background issues, like the background story past the actual comic, the letter page and stuff, the post comic stuff. And there, Joshua Williams says they wrote volume 1, 2, and 3 by themselves because they weren't sure that if they're going to get renewed or not.
If they did that, the end of volume 1 would have been awful. With Alice, that's
with
a
the girl,
way to end.
Yeah, but it's such a dumb ending too, because it's like, of course she's not the bad guy, she's not a murderer, she's just trying to help out. And then the next issue, issue 6, they pretty much tell you that the girl sheriff, that she's her daughter right away. And they revisit that idea again later on. And then it's until issue 20, 25. They're like, she's my daughter. Full page reveal. It's like, come on. We saw that coming from issue 6. You know what I mean?
Adam, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, I think I can probably fix yours and Gaumer's thing about the suicide thing. In 3 panels. One panel, she just asked Finch, "What do you do when you're not investigating or doing this stuff?" It could show a panel of him holding a gun to his head, and then go to the 3rd panel where he says, "I just wait for the next case."
I mean,
boom, there you go.
It's just not enough for me to make that character compelling. That he is just really really working hard at doing his job.
But sometimes
because that's what they try to do
comics.
for Shannon as well.
But sometimes that's part of comics. You have to fill in the blanks.
But he had 5 issues to make the guy more than just this single-minded, shallow individual with one thing on his mind. And honestly, he's not very good at it. He's there like 4 days and 3 people die. He's not very good at it.
Bad argument.
Shannon, too, she's a terrible cop.
You guys just read volume 1, right?
Exactly.
So
that's
I read it all, but we're talking volume 1.
Okay, so
get Jason on track, somebody, please.
Well, I want to know, like one, like what was your first idea of just by looking at the cover and the name, like what was your thought of the premise of the book? Okay, your expectations.
Well, I wouldn't.
And then like after reading volume 1, how did you think this was going to end?
Let me tell you, because I don't really pick up a book like that. I'm going to get as much information as I can before I read it. But the only information I had about this was the solicit for volume number 1. And I think that's all I need. This is the solicit for issue number 1, not volume 1, issue number 1 of Nailbiter. Buckaroo, Oregon has given birth to 16 of the vilest serial criminals in the world. An obsessed FBI profiler investigating the town has suddenly gone missing, and now an NSA agent must work with the notorious serial killer Edward Nailbiter Warren to find his way and solve the mystery of where do serial killers come from. That basically sums up my problem with this book. That's all 5 of these issues. I know just as much as I know at the end of 5 issues than I do reading the solicit for issue number 1.
You met all these characters.
I don't know anything more.
You're learning
They're all terrible characters except Alice. Dude, I just got done saying
David Pepos is back.
That's what we talked about.
I just got done saying how Finch is a one-dimensional character. He's got no other facet to him. There's no growth there.
That's who he is.
Okay. I don't like that as a character.
He's got an anger problem.
That seems like seems boring. It seems boring as hell. Because Shannon,
maybe if that's all I'm watching, but if I'm blending it in with all these other characters and all this stuff going on.
Nailbiter literally had maybe a half an issue total.
Nailbiter, the female cop, the teenager.
Let me get on to Shannon. Can I get on to Shannon for a second?
Grandson that has the murder store, who is. And then the main villain that we don't even know yet, but he's out there and he's utilizing teenage kids.
Did you guys read the hack / tie-ins? The 2 issues?
No, I hate that I didn't.
So the second hack / tie-in, the girl hack / battles the Lucha Libre murderer guy, and at the end of that issue, the Lucha Libre guy is posted on top of the murder store like the teenager kid right before that happens. So, and that Lucha Libre guy was also the dude's business partner as well. So it's like, come on, man. Like, none of this makes sense. Like, dude, there's so many holes in all this.
You can't fuss at Nailbiter because of hack and slash. That's not.
I know.
Can I talk about Shannon, the sheriff?
But actually, sorry, real quick. The hack and slash, the first issue of there's 2 of them tie-ins. The first one, hack and slash meets up with the Nailbiter murderer guy at a carnival. And they battle the not Mr. Nobody, Mr. Something. He's the serial killer that can attack anybody or not anybody anytime. The one that he's the guy that's in the black costume.
Terrible, dude.
He's the guy that's in the black costume at the end with the costume that attacks.
They just keep in the first volume. They just call him the guy with knives. Is all they. He looks like the villain from Dexter that tries to kill, where he's got the house all set up. With
that's
all
the guy. So he got his
like.
face messed up, and they refer to this later on, and a couple issues later, he's like, that guy got his face messed up from her bat. He said, you and your purple hair colored friends messed up my face, and that was that tie-in. I thought it was really cool that they referred to that tie-in probably 2 or 3 times throughout the whole entire series. So pretty neat little side fact.
This
and
is
then
the
real
best
quick,
book club we've ever had.
I got really into this for no reason.
Please, can I talk about Shannon and how she is also a terrible character? All right, she has the same problem I have with Jessica Jones. She's a seemingly strong and independent female lead in a position of power who also has some weird thing, usually revolving around a man, hanging over her that somehow makes her lesser, especially in her own eyes, while also not being very good at
her job,
working at her job in that position of power.
Let's talk about that. Let me finish because I have a prime example. That's where we're going back
why
to.
She's a terrible
you can talk
cop.
for 10 minutes. We're going back to that comment.
No, I'm going to get there.
Okay,
because this is my whole comment is on that. How she's
Adam
a terrible
is so
cop.
bored.
In the case of Jessica Jones, it's her weird need to appear to be a good mother and a wife while being bad at investigating. And in this, it's Shannon's relationship with Nailbiter and her wild inability to do her job. Okay, at one point, she does tackle that dude who got away from Finch, right? Even though that dude was a teenage boy, she tackled him. But then she completely drops the ball on actually being a cop and allows that dude to murder himself. What kind of a cop tackles a perp and doesn't take his freaking gun away?
Okay.
And then allows.
Do you want me to search YouTube right now with how many
after,
cops cannot take down a perpetrator? It's a huge issue in law enforcement.
Dude,
they should all
had him
do
tackled,
preach and take jujitsu because they don't know how to take down a perpetrator.
She had him tackled to the ground, and when she saw who it was, she backed away from him because, oh no, this is Robbie, the local teenager. And then she says, literally, what is happening in this town? Well, obviously they got terrible police. Obviously the police are bad. You're bad at your job.
But Boogie, do you guys want to know how this ends?
Go ahead, well, Boogie wanted to talk about that comment about her being terrible about her at her job.
I know.
Is that not a prime example?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, do you guys want to know how the spoilers of how the whole entire series ends?
No, don't do that.
Because that involves this as well. Okay.
Don't do that because, I mean, that's 30 issues. And I know it's an old comic, but that's 30 issues.
But what you're saying is I have to excuse things that go on in this first volume that don't seem to make sense because, that'll be revealed later.
If I'm arguing for this book and your defense is she's a bad cop, we're talking about 2 to 3 days. And again, do you think that cops just go out and solve crimes in 2 to 3 days? No, it doesn't happen.
But she's also having one of the suspects tailed illegally. I understand that. That's all part of the whole.
Happens?
No, I know it happens. It's all part of the procedural tropes. But that dude's obviously still involved, right? Nailbiter obviously knows more than what he's letting on to. These cops are going to use him to investigate. They even make Silence of the Lambs jokes in here. The show The Blacklist literally came out a year and a half before this book came out. It's the exact same premise, only with spies instead of serial killers. I think
you're grasping at straws for why you hate this book.
The honeybee in the first issue? What was the honeybee? What's the graffiti?
It's a tease of another serial killer, right?
The honeybee
I don't know.
thing.
I have no idea. I only read volume.
That's why I asked where you thought this was going to end earlier, because the honeybee thing should have been the solution. Like, that's how I think this started. Was the bees? I think were instinctually in the beginning was like the bees were supposed to sting somebody and poison them and make them crazy and think a certain way and become a serial killer. So my first thoughts were this detective dude that was going to kill himself that came into town when he got stung. I was like, maybe he's going to find out later on that he's actually from this town, and that's why he killed somebody in a question place, because he saw red, he blanked out and killed the guy. Later on, it becomes a thing where these other serial killers, they see red before they kill. They have like this mind control thing going on, and it's like a Manchurian Candidate kind of thing. And then I think the fans figured out where it was going to go, and Williamson changed his mind. His like, okay, well, that's not going to happen, because that's what Bendis did, and Williamson looked up to Bendis as a writer. You know what I mean? So I think that's like,
I don't know if that's a good defense of the book.
It's not a good defense. It's a bad writing thing. Like you shouldn't do that. Once you have an idea of how a story should go, you should execute it, even if your fans guess it.
But what issues are we talking about? We got to refocus. We got to remember.
I'm focused completely on.
Yeah, we're talking about 1 through 5. Because
Moore mentioned Rachel Rising in the chat. If I could just say, Rachel Rising is dope. Rachel Rising, Terry Moore, it's amazing.
When Jason told me he read the whole series, like one of my problems with the series was wasn't there like a whole arc where they went to Georgia and they like weren't even in Buckaroo? Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is I thought that took away from the story.
In that arc, there was like a devil serial killer happening where there's these victims were piling up and they were looked like devils that had horns put in their head and their eyeballs missing. And there was a really kind of a SWAT guy, team captain, that was there. They're saying, "Oh, we got to catch this serial killer," and eventually you find out that those people that were murdered were from the old town where the main story takes place, and that main SWAT dude was the actual serial killer, and he tried to blame it on someone else.
It just felt like
he wanted books and stuff, he wanted.
Felt like I got to have something else. I can't write this full story. I need something to write for this arc, and I didn't like that. I thought that took away.
Yeah.
Let's rate this thing, and then we're going to talk briefly. We've got, thanks to Outright Geekery. .com. We've got an advanced review copy for Nailbiter Returns, which drops June. What is it? June the 3rd? Is that what I've got here? Where'd it go? Yeah, June the 3rd. The Nailbiter Returns #1 comes out. We're going to be talking about that, but let's rate this thing, and then we'll do that.
I will rate it. I was going to rate it like 9 discount, but I will go.
That's not fair.
It's not. I will go $2 because you guys have talked me, and especially Jason, into.
Oh, way to go, Jason.
Well, no. He keeps harping on how this is not great, but he says, but if you read this, it gets great later. I'm willing to be okay with that. It's not the way I like my comic books. I don't want to read 30 issues or 20 issues or even 10 issues to know I like a comic book. I want to read 1, maybe 2 to say, all right, I'm on board forever. And this just didn't do that for me. And I really think, especially an independent book like this, it needs to. You don't have any characters carrying the book. But everything I say, I will stand by. The characters are bland. I hate the whole police procedural thing.
Little asterisk saying that you don't like this type of book.
I like a good mystery.
I'm going to be front about it. This book is definitely not for me, but there were some places the gore was wonderful. The pages that Boogie showed up are literally the best pages in the book, though, in my opinion. Those first 3.
So you got $1.99.
Yeah,
when the dude stabs his face with the syringe, that might have been issue 6.
I don't think that was. I don't think I saw that.
There's the horror pages are great.
Yeah, the gore.
Yeah.
The gore.
I just want to say that. Yeah. So issue 6, that like I said before, they pretty much say that the girl was the officer cop's daughter. Issue Alex. 7. So that's like one-off thing. You don't even need
Shannon.
Yeah. So you don't even need to read issue 6. You can pass over that. Issue 7 is an homage to Powers by Brian Michael Bendis.
Oh. And Oeming, and don't forget Michael Avon Oeming.
Yeah. So in Powers by Bendis, he had
and Oeming.
Yeah. Who did he have? He had Warren. Who was the guest starring in that book in Powers that I said? Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Book. Yeah,
he like himself in the comic.
Yes.
So in issue 7 of Nailbiter, Brian Michael Bendis guest starred. He's the comic book writer guest starred in the issue, and that's really fun thing. But you don't even really need to read that either. So
Ghost Fleet did that too. Remember Ghost Fleet did that at the end?
Yeah,
that was fun. Where Donnie Cates and Daniel Warren Johnson show up in the book.
Oh yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. Yeah, but the thing is, that was just one panel or 2 panels, maybe, or a couple panels. But Brian Michael Bendis is the whole entire character throughout the whole entire issue.
Oh, that's cool. Does he get murdered at the end?
He almost gets murdered.
Oh, well, no, never mind. If he got murdered at the end,
that's exactly the same way the Powers issue does, and it happened on the same kind of time period. So it was a cool homage. That's cool. It's funny because Williamson considers Brian Michael Bendis a good parentor, kind of a person who showed him how to write and things, and a mentor. And so does Matthew Rosenberg. And I have a lot of respect for Bendis because I feel like he kind of mentored a lot of writers that we know nowadays. You know what I mean? As much as I don't really care for his writing, but apparently,
again, it changed. It used to be great.
Yeah, I don't like it right now, but
I like New Avengers. I like some Secret Invasion.
I might go read.
I say it every week. Daredevil. Go read his Daredevil.
Daredevil's very good.
Yeah. That's where
I told Jason before we went live. Ed Brubaker's Daredevil next.
Warren Ellis a lot, enough to put him in Powers, and a lot of people love Warren Ellis back in the day too. So we have Greg Rucka, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction.
Sure.
So I feel like maybe Warren Ellis. I always look to whoever you look forward to. You put in your kind of sights of who you look up to. Who do they look up to? And then who does that person look up to? And it kind of goes down.
It always goes back to Alan Moore, though, so it's okay.
Right? And Frank
Miller.
It all
goes back to Alan Moore. Exactly.
It's the tree. It's the tree. Sit under the learning tree.
Right.
This
Nailbiter,
I love it.
I'm gonna rate it. I'm gonna rate $2.99 just because it retcons itself constantly throughout itself. The clown
car
car
go 1 through 5, Jason. Let's calm down.
How about just 1 through 5? The first
1 through 5, same, $2.99.
Okay.
$2.99.
Okay.
But not for the same reason.
It didn't retcon itself in 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, like the lady, the blonde or whatever, that blonde killer, she doesn't even kill anybody. She didn't kill anybody.
She's not even in the first.
She's not a murderer. I know, but still.
Mentioned.
Also, the clown car.
Jason can't do the homework.
Also, the clown car murderer. He was known for.
Not on the same page.
He was known for killing people by shoving clowns. He killed clowns, only clowns, and he shoved clowns in a car because he wanted to figure out how many clowns you can fit into a car. And the new comic coming up, the Nailbiter Part 2, Issue 1, whatever the new series is called. Nailbiter Returns shows the clown murderer, and he's running people over.
So
why are you gonna keep retconning yourself, dude? Constantly, dude. I hate
so
that. I hate a comic book writer when you retcon it yourself constantly and you change your mind constantly throughout the whole entire series. Like, I don't know. I hate that. I hate, like, what if you start writing a series? Why don't you have a plan? Have a plan and execute your plan.
I'm mad.
I am mad, dude. I don't get it.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Diamond Distribution. You should have a plan before you do anything. What you own a business that have tons of people's lives at stake at your fingertips. Have a plan. What are you doing? I'm mad.
You know what really grinds my gears?
I just want Jason to rate it. What did he say?
I think he said $2.99.
That's a great rating for what you just yelled about.
It is.
Adam, are you awake?
Yeah. I rated it $2.99.
Nice.
You guys want to take a wild freaking guess what I rate it?
A perfect score. Sure.
I love it. I love this book.
I knew it.
And I get it. I get the things. I get it. But I love it. I love it. It is what it is. You guys want to talk about Nailbiter Returns #1?
I thought it was great.
We don't. Oh wow!
It was awesome. I was like, oh man, the cliffhanger was awesome because.
Let me read the solicit real quick.
Okay.
Nailbiter Returns #1. They're bringing the series back June 3rd. Joshua Williamson and Mike S. Henderson's critically acclaimed hit horror series returns. 16 of the world's worst serial killers were all born in the same small town, but Agent Finch and Sheriff Crane solved and buried that mystery, didn't they? Violent copycat murders imitating the infamous Buckaroo Butchers have begun in Portland, Oregon, and if Finch wants the killings to stop, who have to team up with the daughter. I like this part. With the daughter of the Nailbiter himself, a brand new mystery begins in an extra-length first issue. I'm just glad to be back in the town of Buckaroo, and there is a scene that is straight out of Dexter, blood and violence. We can't spoil too much because it is an advanced review copy, courtesy of Outright Geekery. But I enjoyed it. But I love this. I love this series.
Yeah, man, I did enjoy it myself. I like the premise. I like the whole entire trying to figure out who or what's happening in this town where there's a bunch of serial killers that came from this. And once again, they did mess up with this, with their story, trying to keep things straight, because they said that after the Nailbiter's trial, it brought attention to the city. But then later on, they say that he escaped and got free of the trial because of the attention from the city. But that didn't occur until his case later on. It contradicted itself. And then later on, the main bad guy said he bribed and used connections when he wasn't even like a politician or anything like that. He had no, it's so writing out of your own ass and making solutions for things that didn't exist and couldn't really happen. It's just, I don't know, man, dude. I like how the writing and the premise of it was, but I don't like how they didn't stick to what they said the first time around.
And this is going back to the Patreon exclusive, patreon.com/ComicCastPod. We do a bonus podcast 10-15 minutes before every show. It's uploaded every Sunday night. And we talked about this. And I said, I think for you read this all like 1 through 30, just jammed through it. So that's fresh on your mind. Whereas when I read it month to month, like I'm sure I'm missing some things. You're reading 10 to 15 books a week. All these different stories kind of blend together. You don't catch stuff like that. So I think that's valid. I think your criticism is valid, but I missed it when I was reading it. So I want to finish reading it all.
Do you have like the screenshot of the killers that I put up that I sent to the chat?
I can get it.
Is that not the last page?
That's the last page of like issue like 8 or 10
Okay.
That shows all the killers that they're supposed to talk about, all the Buckaroo butchers.
Oh yeah. Like the mug shots looking.
Yeah. And I do believe they talk about all of them except for one of them, the Lucky 13 assassin. I don't quite remember, but all the other ones I do remember there being a story or mentions. But before the last arc, I want to say on issue 25, it ends on this guy wearing the book burner mask, the first killer. And it says, oh, they're trying to find the solutions with these books. And I can find it too, but I don't want to because I hate reading. And then it zooms out to like the book burner wearing a mask and he throws a match and burns all these like books in a hidden library. And you're like, oh, like, is it the book burner? Like, I guess he's the one behind it all. He was the first killer. The guy who owns the murder store's uncle or grandpa or whatever. Yeah. They never said what happened to him. You know what I mean? Like he could be dead or the top left. Yeah, that top guy. So he's the first murderer guy. So you're like, oh man, is he going to be the one that's behind it all, the one that started it all? And that would have been poetic. That'd have been awesome. But no, it was just a guy that said, I hate reading as a false device. And I hate that so much. And they changed the bad guy of who it was. And the bad guy who they changed it to, it just doesn't really make very much sense. And it's quite reaching and ridiculous. So it bumps me out. They could have done so much with this story, this premise. They could have gone so many different ways and deep character dives, like Gaumer said. They could have dove deep into that detective. They could have made him the main character. They could have made so many of these other side characters the main character, but still, they could have done so much with this, and they barely touched ground. Yeah. But that's cool. They're bringing it back. They did feel like the series reached its own natural conclusion, which is why they ended the series at issue 30. They thought it was its natural ending, but they're coming back. So they have more to say, more to tell. And the cool thing is that the new issue of issue 1 of the next series coming out ends exactly where the last issue took place. Like it's stopgap. It just stops. The last issue 30 stops there. Next issue starts right where the last one left off. You know what I mean? So it's a cool continuation.
I think all the little side serial killers that we just looked at there, I think they're just bonus features. It's like, oh, this is a fun little thing to say, but this is the Nailbiter.
But I do hate that they said that there's 16. I wish they would have left it ambiguous. They should have said there's multiple serial killers that came from this town, an unknown number. We don't know how many there are actually out there. Not to backtrack,
but how about the girl coming to Buckaroo pregnant because I want to give birth in this town so my child will become, is that what it is? Dang it.
Issue 6.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
But it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I want to talk about the whole series, not just the first volume. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's hard. I didn't mean to do that. I'm doing what I busted Jason for. We got to wrap this thing up.
Right.
What are we reading next week?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Adam or Jason. I have to pick.
We got one more, so I don't feel so bad about crapping on.
I don't have any idea.
We've got a guest next week, Philip Seavey, and then we've got Ryland Grant has a built up aggression in his soul that he is going to unleash on ComicCast in 2 weeks.
Oh, fun.
But we also have new comic books returning for that show. So we're getting back to business as usual. I know a lot of you guys. No, but we have something new. A lot of the people in the chat, a lot of times while we're interviewing and talking, they're like, I want to talk about comics. I want to talk about comics. We're getting there. But shout out to everybody that has come on as a guest. You know, I give them the same option every time I reach out to them. I say, I know there's a lot going on. If you don't want to come on, you don't have to. Shout out to Skylar. She's like, I'll come on. We'll have a good time. It'll be fun. So I appreciate that because that kind of gave us, as a comic book podcast, a way to, keep putting out content. So it's been good. But do you guys have any suggestions, Jason, Adam?
No, what do you think, Adam? I feel like Adam should pick.
I don't have anything off the top of my head right now. I need to think about it.
Well, we can think about it. Can you give us a hint about our next guest of what he did?
Dang it! You would put me on the spot.
I'm trying to help the audience out.
I can.
Who is it?
Sorry.
His name is Philip Seavey. He's worked on Triage, Tomb Raider, The Freeze, The House Paradox. Contact him at Philip Seavey Comic Art at gmail.com.
Right. There you go, people.
Oh, Triage.
We'll have something for you. We'll pick
the Tithe is good. The Tithe is a dope book, man. It's about a bunch of people who like rob mega churches and give the money to the poor. It's awesome.
Hey, and I've already talked to him. I've already confirmed him. He will be here. He'll be here next week.
Cool.
I want to show you guys.
Bob's like, I'm gonna go drink. Sorry.
Is he talking about something specific?
We are done, but I do want to show my homies this real quick. Sean Phillips from Criminal got this print that he made from Blade Runner.
Nice.
And he signed it, which is pretty dope because I didn't think he'd sign it, but he did.
Very cool.
He also made this other one right behind it, the new one.
Nice.
He signed to Harrison Ford. Yeah, pretty stoked. All right.
Shout out to everybody in the chat that hung out tonight. There's a lot of you guys that came in and out, and we appreciate it. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Content every Sunday at 7 o'clock. This has been fun, even though I struggled when we first started. But we will catch you guys next week.